Thank you very much, Beatrice. Hi, I'm standing in for Ian James, who is our technical architect. As I just get myself ready, he's on loan to the programme from Ordnance Survey, which is one of our national mapping agencies. So if you've got any deep technical questions, I might not be able to answer, but one of his colleagues, Peter Parzo, is in the audience. Sorry to pull you out, Peter, but we might be able to cover them between us. Right, what we're going to cover today, we'll just cover the background of the UKLP programme, given you might have just heard that from Ray Bogosowski, who was our previous director. I'm not going to go into too much detail. The UK public data policy and alignment between them, as well as our overarching design principles, technical infrastructure, a quick demo of data.gov if I've got time, and some of the lessons learned. So, background to the UK Location Programme. UK Location Strategy was launched in 2008, and the aim, in a quick skip through, was basically to address about the government-owned datasets, which there were too few, incorporating location information. There are too few linkages between them, and too much duplication and too little reuse. The strategy includes the implementation of Inspire. So background to the UK public data policy, just quickly skipping through the years. In 2007, there was a task force launched, the Power of Information Task Force, and they highlighted in a report to government that basically we needed to publish more data, how it can be used, and in what form it should be used. In 2009, Tim Berners-Lee, or Sir Tim Berners-Lee, was appointed government to make out for more data accessible, and in 2010, data.gov beta was launched. We also had a new administration in 2010 under David Cameron, and they then recommitted to and further committed to publishing key government data under the Transparency Board. In 2011, the UK location data was published through data.gov for the first time. Data.gov, so since its launch, over 8,400 datasets, at least at the last count, were available. Those come from a variety of public sector information sources. They include transport, health, justice, education, which have been basically driven from prime ministerial commitments that have been made. Over 188 billion or 233 billion euros of spending transactions which are spent by central government are now published online as well, which is one of the key interest data sets that data.gov have. Technically, it's based solely on open source products, CCAN data catalogue sitting in the background, and Drupal for the community tools and blogging sites, etc. Right, alignment of UK location and the UK public data policy. In 2010, the UK location took a strategic decision to deliver UK location geoportal facilities through data.gov. Location data is just, at the end of it, data. This provides a one-stop shop for public sector data. It broadened the scope of data.gov to include non-open data, and we'll cover what that meant for data.gov and for us in some of the lessons learned later. And it required the implementation of some geospatial tools, search and preview, which I'll go through what they look like and hopefully go through a quick demo as well. So the design principles for UK location infrastructure. So it's a federated approach, so to minimise the scope of central services. The metadata ownership is with the data publishers. Central services will not host location information. It's only metadata, and master data is held centrally. Metadata discovery is delivered through data.gov. So to maximise the use of existing open source software solutions, minimise the use of open standards, including Inspire, maximise the use of open standards, fit for purpose, and support flexibility and extensibility to ensure we can deal with new arising business requirements. So this is the overview of the UK location infrastructure. So the publishers create metadata, so that's the first part, and they make their metadata available locally as a CSW or WAF. So they then publish their metadata, and it's harvested from the data publishers by data.gov. We then publish that metadata to the EU, and it's harvested via a GeoNetwork CSW, or Catalogue Service for the Web. Discovery datasets. So for the users now to discover the datasets that are sitting on data.gov, they can search that using the mapping tools that we've integrated. So this is what the mapping tool looks like. Map-based search, classic with draw and a bounding box here around Bristol. The administrative areas are shown on this map. There's something that you can turn on and off, and I will attempt that later. There's also a catalogue of place names, postcodes and coordinates which people can search in. So to preview datasets can be previewed using a web mapping service, so directly from the data publishers via data.gov. And that's what the preview service looks like. We've just added in, as well as the layers being pulled directly from the data publishers, we also now have a legend being pulled directly from the data publishers. And in the next iteration, we'll be having more detailed, such as the feature information. Right, to consume data, it actually goes direct from the data publishers to the users. So once it's been discovered, it can be accessed directly from data publishers. So I'm going to attempt a quick demo now. I'm not sure how I'm... Okay. Yes. Yep. That's all. Suppose I'm... Sorry. Oh, they can start. I suppose you don't. You're not knowing where to go in the. To run. Sorry, it's a live demo. I should say I thought I'd attempt a live demo, which is. I can skip that. I'll go on to lessons learned. No. So if we go to map-based search, the big green button on the right-hand side. I would say it's intuitive for a user, but I do know that we've got a new version of data.gov. I know Ray said it's coming out next week. It's actually coming out tomorrow. Do you want to run it, Peter? You're okay. Thank you. Essentially, map-based search searches through the catalogue of data, and it's going to find a general area of. Peter will find a general area of interest. And then, if we just draw a search box around. Scotland is always a good area to look for. I'm learning another lesson here. Thank you. Ooh. And normally you would get a list of search results. There's a classic list of search results, and then we have someone you can go from here, you can skip straight into and preview on a map on the search result. So either you can start drilling down into the metadata sitting behind it, or you can view it on a map. So what's important or one of the aspects for the UK and interesting one is that we had to bring together 4 different data sets to build this background map, which we've made available now for other government projects as well. And we're pulling this information directly from the data publishers, so if their service is being flaky, it represents badly on us as well. The principle being that users can then comment on the way in which the data is represented. If they're finding it hard to locate what they need, they'll be able to make that comment back. You can also refine your search at the top of the page. So you could enter a word such as farming in the keyword search box, or farm, if that's what you were interested in the area that you had searched for. And in the new, which provides you with marine planning zones, so marine fish farming in this case. I would cheat and just go to one, but I don't like doing that. And we have WMS, which is failing by all accounts. Right. Well, lessons learned, which is the next slide. We can that for now. But I do suggest, if you want, that maybe if we just go into a data set. Sorry, Peter. If you just go into farm scale evaluations and just show the current, which is not the best, I would say, view of the metadata. And as I say, tomorrow, all we get now is the short introduction, which is mandatory. We then get each of the data sets, the source data. So Gemini 2 is the standard by which the UK metadata has to be compliant to. So this is the metadata itself. And more of these details are going to be pulled out, and that's it in a formatted form. So you've got either a user's view or a machine's view of the metadata. Right. Yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll go to the lessons learned. Always attempt a live demo. That's my first lesson. Right, some lessons learned. Yep, so the location data community, it's actually often further advanced in its consistent use of metadata and standards than much of our other public data communities. So there's a lot that they've got to learn from us, and there's a lot that we can teach for them, and that's something that will come out more in the next couple of days from some of the work which the UK government is publishing. There is more to government data than open data, and we've seen that in their organisational status, and political necessity mean that data has to be licensed and some data has to be paid for. That means it's not quite as straightforward as we would like if it was all just open data. The same above also implies to Inspire. It's not quite as simple as we would like it, and there are things like rights management, standardisation that are still to be addressed. Data.gov.uk is politically high profile, priorities can change quickly, and best laid plans can get distracted or need to be changed, so we need to be flexible in our approach. That's something that we've learned by working with them. A federated approach requires significant effort in engagement and guidance, even more so than one where you're just telling the users about the data. It's one where you have to get the information across about what the data providers need to do to make the whole system work and work seamlessly-ish. So that's it. That's for me. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think the UK approach, we have heard it also this morning, to have this one-stop shop for all the data is quite user-friendly. Are there any questions? Do you have any experience in your countries? Are there other countries which are using this approach to have just one-stop shop for all the government data? I think there are initiatives like that around. Any questions? I would have a question.
Okay.
Because we could see also this morning that in fact sharing experience is an important aspect. So do you know, are there any specific initiatives that are following here and that have been envisaged, or is that more now for the time being a general lesson learned? So I have to turn it off.
Yeah, I would say for now it's a general lessons learned, more than specific initiatives following that.
And I have actually one more question, which is more of a technical nature. We were also already discussing it a little bit, and it's related to the metadata format, because you are integrating different kinds of information, so not necessarily all these documents are documented with Inspire metadata. So how is this handled?
Yes, so basically people can publish, data publishers for other organisations or other government organisations can publish data which isn't Inspire data on data.gov. It doesn't yet have to meet the same requirements for that of the location data. There is other types of location data because it doesn't fall under Inspire, which is currently published on data.gov. And the approach that we're taking with the UK is to best practice is to get those data publishers to start to use the same standards that we're using from the benefits they see that we're getting from publishing in that way.
Okay, thank you.